welcome to another episode of Shooting
the Shit with Rachel
and Neal Young. We're talking all things real estate photography business growth, mindset, and getting it done. Here come your favorite true entrepreneurs, Rachel and Neal Young, shooting the shit.
I have a ferret on the Like if we're kind of in a slump, like what kind of things do you do?
Talking about a boob light.
Straddling a power line.
Nice photo.
Ooh, I need that.
I'm like red right now because I'm embarrassed. I go like this. I love it.
Come in.
Sure, use your podcast voice.
Over here, I'm pitting out.
Drone's like flipping to the ground.
That's a great callback.
Chit-chatting.
Is that what you call that? Hey!
Rach, who do you love?
HD Photo Hub.
Today's episode is brought to you by HD Photo Hub.
The platform real estate photographers trust.
And so do we, because Rach and I both use it on a daily basis. Check it out.
Check it out.
Check it out.
Check it out. Check it out.
Welcome back, everybody. We've got a very interesting episode today due to a little happenstance here. We'll get in. I'll let Rachel explain exactly what's going on. She looks totally normal right now, but she's not. This is not a normal scenario that she's in right now, actually. So Rachel, tell and there's some interesting points we're gonna get to related to what's going on with Rachel right now. But Rachel, what's going on this week and for 2 weeks, I believe?
For the next 3 weeks of my life. So I had hip surgery last week. I tore my labrum, which is the cartilage that lines the ball of your hip joint. I did this last April, so almost a year ago, playing golf. It's like the dumbest way to hurt yourself. Like such like a not fun story to tell people. They're like, how did you hurt yourself? I'm like, oh, playing golf. And they're like, really? You must be really, really aggressive when you golf. And I'm like, well, I'm really competitive. But no, and I was playing in Arizona with my dad and my stepmom. And we played 3 rounds of 18, 3 days in a row. And on the last day, probably like hole 14, I teed off. And after I teed off, I walked off the tee box and I felt like I tore a muscle in my hip. Like I thought it was my hip flexor. I thought I just tore a muscle or strained something, right? So anyways, it was fine. But I mean, it like hurt, but I just kind of like kept working out on it. Finally, by July, I was like in bed for 3 or 4 days, like in excruciating pain. I'm like, okay, something's not right. So I ended up going to the doctor. They sent me to physical therapy for 8 weeks, which helped, but it never got better. Anyways, it just never healed, never got better. I had like limited range of motion. And it's like, I can walk, I can work out if I modify everything. So it wasn't an injury that was like preventing me from doing my job or like preventing me from doing much in my life. I actually did not golf until this last month because I was afraid it was going to hurt it. And I golfed twice. I did 2 rounds and it was fine. It didn't hurt at all. And I'm like, seriously, I should have just been golfing this whole time. But anyway, so finally I got an MRI a few months back and they were like, oh yeah, it's torn. The only way to fix it is surgery. Basically it's 3 weeks on crutches and then 1 week, like partial weight bearing. So basically 4 weeks on crutches. And I'm like, well, how long can I wait? Like we're going into busy season. So I found out in January that I needed surgery. Maybe it's February. Anyways, I tried to get it scheduled like as soon as possible. I rushed out and hired a couple shooters, like sped to train them. Like we can get more into that in a minute, but it was just like this panic. The doctor's like, well, we can give you injections now. But the longer you wait, the higher risk you have of cartilage damage. And I was like, oh, that's not good. So I was like, well, I better get it fixed. So anyways, tried to get in as soon as possible, but my insurance took about a month and a half to get back to me to actually approve the surgery. They like made us jump through all these hoops and the doctor had to fill out this huge survey and then he had to write a handwritten letter and like ridiculous. So anyways, finally.
Worst time to be jumping through hoops too.
I know. And I'm like every day I'm so anxious. I'm these poor scheduling people at the doctor's office. I would call like every 4 days and they're like, it can take up to 14 business days for insurance to approve it. So I'm calling like every 4 days. I'm like, hey, did you get approval? And they're like, nope, as soon as we hear, we'll call you. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, my business is like really getting busy and I just need to get in as soon as possible. I'm like, can you like hold a spot for me? And they're like, no, we can't do that. I'm like, well, what's your next opening? And it was like 3 weeks out. And I'm like, 3 weeks. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I'm just like panicked, like shit, it's going to happen in April and it's going to be busy season. And sure enough,
Yeah, and here
March
you are.
26th when I had
Mhm.
surgery. And yeah, so anyway, so I've
Yeah,
been at home for a week and 2 days. And
yeah,
like I'm okay sitting up right now, but it is starting to bother me. So I'll just lean back in my chair like a gangsta for half the
yeah.
podcast.
And you guys didn't see her walk to sit down. She walked over with crutches. And previous to, I was surprised to see her just walking over on her own to go sit down for the podcast because previous to that, she was laying in bed. You were laying in bed with like your leg in a harness. How long were you in bed that you weren't even supposed to get out of bed?
I can get up and like lay on the couch, and 2 days after they had me on a bike, like a
Oh, they
stationary
did.
bike.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I
Okay.
have this thing, it's called a CPM machine, and it like basically you lay your leg on it and it rotates like up and down. So it moves. They don't want scar tissue to build up. So I have to lay in bed on my back and put my leg in this machine, and it moves my leg up and down super slow for 6 hours a day. They
Right.
say like 2 to 6 hours a day, but I'm like, I'm doing 6 hours because I don't want this scar tissue crap. So 6 hours of my life I'm laying in bed, but I have a laptop. Like I can watch YouTube videos. I can make calls. Like I can do whatever I need to do from my bed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
But the
fine.
the big issue here and the thing that we really wanted to talk about is, you know, obviously you can't go out on a shoot right now. So, and
No.
that's always the thing in our line of work when you think about that, like, what, you break your foot or you're sick, you've got pneumonia, whatever. What do you do? Because if you're, the only boots on the ground getting the photos and doing that stuff going out, even if you're a team, you're a big chunk of that money that's coming in. What do you do when you can't go out and physically get the money? So we thought it might be interesting to talk a little bit about that. And especially because Rachel knew this was coming, at least, so she was able to gear up and get some of the things in place to make it through that period of time. But also, this isn't your first surgery, isn't that right? So you've
No, this is
done.
my third surgery in the last 7 years since I've started that put me out for at least 2 or 3 weeks. My other two surgeries I was able to schedule during winter. So it was December. And
Mhm.
the first one was my ankle, and that one was pretty terrible, but that was back in 2018. So I wasn't crazy busy in December. It wasn't a big hit to the business. I had my biggest thing that I just want to caution you guys, if you have a solo business and it's just you shooting,
Yeah.
just consider if you break your leg, if you have to be out, if you get in a car accident, if something bad happens to you and you have no income for 6 weeks, like how are you going to survive? Do you have enough money saved up? One, like I know most of us don't. Like even myself, I'm like, oh,
No.
I should have more. Or two, do you have some referral partners in your area, like other photographers in your area? That's what I did the first time. My friend that moved to Montana, I gave him a bunch of jobs. Like any jobs that came, I'd just be like, Chris, will you do these? And I'd pay
Yeah.
him as if he was my shooter, and he took them gladly. And that was something, it was half what I would normally have made, but it was better than nothing. And my people were taken care of. So I knew I wasn't going to lose them to another photographer. So that's like my biggest advice to people is just go network and meet other photographers in your area. Make sure you have a relationship with them. Make sure you trust them. I mean, you should have it anyway. Like I have a few photographers in the area that I know that I can call. Like if I'm booked, I can call them up and be like, hey, can you help me out with this shoot? And I would trust them to take my clients and take good care of them. And I like their work. It's similar to what I do. So they're just one of those trusted people that I call. Now there's other people in the area that I would not send my clients to because I know that they would gladly take them and do everything they could to keep them. So, it's good to build those relationships with people in your area that you can refer to
Yeah.
and
You'll
trust.
you'll be you'll be kicking yourself if you weren't friendly when you need some
Yeah.
help.
Don't be a jerk. Be nice to
Yeah.
people.
Yeah,
Have
right.
friends. Friends are good. Yeah, friends are
Yeah.
good. So,
Well,
and
how
then
did that
obviously,
work? Was that just a handshake deal when you did that with that photographer and helped, and you got like a percentage and they filled in for you? How did that
yeah.
work?
Yeah, I just sent him. I mean, I was shooting for him at that time. Like he
Oh,
would send me jobs every once in a while. So it was just kind of reversed. So I already had a working relationship with him. I trust him. Like I knew. Yeah. And it was just a handshake deal. I'm not gonna, make him sign a contract for
And
that. Or
clearly, if you have a team,
and you
it's not as
could,
big of
but
a yeah. If it's a team, it's not as big of a concern. Obviously, they can, you're just going to give them more jobs. But
yeah.
definitely, if your team isn't big enough to handle whatever your current workload is, then it might be a stressful scenario, especially if you don't have any heads up. Like Rachel knew, she had to go get surgery. It wasn't like an accident happened and it had to be immediately going to, the hospital or something like that. But if that were the scenario, it would definitely be a stressful thing to try and figure out. And I think, part of it too is if you're building a good rapport with your clients, one would hope that in an emergency type of scenario, they would understand. And obviously, worst case scenario, if you've got nobody to reach out to, you're not friendly with any of the photographers, that they would just on their own have to figure it out. They'd have to use somebody. And hopefully you've built a good rapport with them that, when you're ready to come back, that they would hopefully come back to you. But there is always that risk that, you could lose some clients because maybe that other person does something better than you, or maybe they didn't like you as much as you thought they did.
Oh, sad. No, I think if you take good care of your people, of course, your realtors that you work for, most of them have been doing this longer than you. And they've gone through a few photographers along the way. And they have people coming into the office, people soliciting to them on a regular basis. So, I mean, they have other options, honestly. It's not like you're the only one. I mean, maybe in your small town. I don't know where you guys are all from, but depends on where you're from, I guess. But for the most part, there's at least one or two other options that are pretty comparable to your level and what you're offering. So it's not the end of the world if they have to use someone else. I mean, even when I was a smaller outfit and I was booked, my photographer's like, oh, darn, or my broker, one of them would be like, oh, darn, you're booked this time. Okay, we'll just use our other photographer that we use. And they'd flip between the two of us, And even today, like, one of my brokers used me for a couple years and now they've flipped over to this other photographer that they're using,
Yeah.
And they'll come back eventually. I don't know, maybe not, but whatever. I don't know the reason.
No, it's a good point. And have a little confidence in the fact that you're right. Most of these realtors or brokerages, at least, have probably used a million photographers. There's a reason why they use you, right? So, that is a good way to think about it for sure.
So another thing that I want to really quickly just kind of, okay, we don't have health benefits with this job because we're self-employed. And I know there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there who just don't have insurance. But I have to tell you, if you get hurt and you have to go to PT and you have to do a surgery or whatever, there's a ton of appointments. It's just expensive. There are plans out there, even if you just get on like a catastrophic plan in case you get in a really bad car accident or something, it could save you from going bankrupt. So there are some, I don't know about what plans are out there. To be honest, I'm on my husband's plan. He has a corporate job, so I'm lucky. And I know it's expensive, but it's something that you definitely want to have, especially if something comes up like this.
And you want to have and in case it's something where you got hurt on the job, you want to have some kind of insurance, potentially, just liability insurance or something like that might be helpful too. But what other advice, if we're thinking more of like a planning, right? That we know something's coming up where it's a vacation or it's a surgery like you're having and you're not going to be able to work for a couple of weeks. What are some of the things that you did in this scenario to ramp up? I know you have some new shooters that were coming on, so maybe because spring was coming, that kind of made sense anyway, right? Maybe that just overlapped, or was that a big part of the plan, or is it also kind of lining up with, are you already trying to do a little less work and have more of the teammates go out? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So for the last 2 years, I've been trying to build my business up to where I don't have to shoot if I don't want to shoot. And I honestly, like through the winter, I shot about 3 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday, Fridays, I just stayed home and did office work, worked on the course, like did a lot of stuff, caught up on things, had a life. It was really nice. So if I could get back to that, that's what I would prefer. That's what I want. That's what I'm building towards, being able to not have to shoot if I don't want to shoot, being able to go on vacation if I don't want to. But the thing is, like, honestly, I really do enjoy shooting still. Like there's times when I complain and I'm like, oh, I'm burnt out, I'm over it. But like, I really do enjoy being out in the field and the hustle and bustle of it. Like, So I'm not ready to hang it up completely, but I am ready to hang up at least 2 days a week, if not 3, and let my shooters just do it. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I did have, this was a good motivator for me to hire people. I knew I needed at least one more shooter for spring, especially if like I was going to be out for a month during busy season. I was like, oh boy, it's going to be tough. It hasn't gotten crazy busy yet though. Like we just started getting a ton of orders coming in the last 3 days. The first 3 days of April. It's April 4th, 3rd, 4th. I don't even know what day it is anymore.
The fourth.
Something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah. And the first 3 days have been like crazy with how many orders for us are coming in. It's great. So I
Oh,
think
cool.
after getting through Easter, after getting through spring break, it's like, okay, now people are ready to list their homes. It's forecasted that interest rates are going to go down, which is going to be good. Hopefully more people will jump on and want to sell their house. So I felt like it was just time, like it's going to be better than last year. I think the market is for sure. And we need at least one, if not two more people on board to be able to handle busy season in summer comfortably so I can shoot 2-3 days a week. So this was a good push for me to go out and find a couple shooters. And I lucked out and found one gal. She's fantastic. She was shooting for 2 years for another company, came on with me, and she's pretty much trained. We just had to do a little bit of tweaking. I just had to kind of teach her our ways, because we shoot a little bit different than her. But she doesn't do video yet. So we're going to be starting training for video here when I'm all healed up. So we'll get
And
that
how
going.
did you find her, Rach?
I did a shoot for Real Producers, and she was the assistant to the broker I was shooting, and she was there assisting. And
Cool.
it was so funny. I think I told this story, maybe not, but I was walking up the stairs and she was walking down the stairs. Like I hadn't even met the broker yet. And she stopped me on the stairs and she goes, oh my gosh, I know you. I know you from Instagram. And I was like, I've made it. Like, my ego was so happy. I was like, no way. Somebody actually recognized me from Instagram. That's amazing. Because I feel like I live on Instagram. Anyways, no. So yeah, it was so funny. And she was like, well, I know you because I'm also a real estate photographer. And I was like, oh, right on. Very cool. Yeah. So we started talking and I told, this was, gosh, probably September or October. And I told her, I said, oh, we're hiring if you're interested. And she was like, oh, maybe. So we ended up getting coffee and then figured it all out, and yeah, it's a good fit. So I'm excited to have her on board. But yeah, so, and she is open to working full-time or taking on, a decent amount of shoots. So that would help kind of free up some of my time. It's scary going into this kind of busy season because through COVID, it was absolutely insane. Like I just could not find enough people to shoot for me. And I was throwing people out into the field that really weren't 100% ready, but it was like, I just have so many orders coming and I need shooters, and like, I hate to say that I did that because that's like not good business practice. But it was just like this whirlwind of like, and I learned a lot from that. So I'm like, I'm not going to do that again. So I got to make sure my people are like fully trained before I send them out. And I feel 100% confident sending her out. She's already done a handful of shoots for me, and all the clients that have reached out, they've been like, oh my gosh, I just love your new shooter. She's great. Like she did such a good job, like good hire. Heard that from 3 people. And I think she's done 6 shoots for me. So good news. I like it. Love getting good reviews from clients. She was easy though, because she was already pretty much trained. So
Rach, sorry to interrupt, but a little aside here. I'm kind of excited because I'm branching out to a new market, first of all, in Florida. But the tricky part is it's pretty competitive down there, and there's some of these huge companies offering these crazy deals for like the first people that use them, and they're giving them like everything. And I was trying to think how I could compete with this. I didn't know if you've done something like this before, what your thoughts were, but what I did was with HD Photo Hub, I set up a promo code for a little discount and then also included the marketing kit because a lot of these competitors are offering all these things and it sounds really crazy. Like, oh my gosh, they get a website. Oh, they get social media stuff. Oh, they get, all these things. And I thought about it. I'm like, really? Oh, a video and all this. Like, actually, that's just the marketing kit that we get in HD Photo Hub. So I'm doing the promo code. They get a marketing kit, slideshow video. They get a website. They get social media templates. They get printable flyers and all the stuff that the agents love. And all of a sudden I look like this, huge company that does all the same stuff these big companies are doing, and it looks kind of slick. But I didn't know if have you tried that? Have you ever done the promo code thing?
I have used the promo codes, which are great. You just generate them within HD Photo Hub. You give the code to your people. There's a little section when they check out to just put in that promo code, and it automatically applies that discount, which is so convenient. I think that's a great way for you to stand apart from your competition too, Neal. Promoting yourself as a marketing company, offering a marketing kit, and going into a little bit of detail with that just sets you apart, makes you look baller.
Yeah,
Love it.
totally. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Good. All right. Cool. So I'm going with that, and that's what I'm going to do to try and kind of get people excited to use me the first time, and hopefully it'll get some traction rolling in that because it's a brand new market. So I'm excited. Awesome.
Yeah, I love it. If you want to try out HD Photo Hub, you can get 50 free credits, which will buy you 3 property websites and marketing kits that you can test out on your clients. And the promo code for that is STS in shooting the shit. Try it out today. Uh-oh, we lost Neal. Neal, come back. Oh no. Okay, we're pausing the recording. We'll do it. Okay, so we have a little technical difficulty. So Neal lives in New Hampshire and they're having a snowstorm at the moment and his power went out like mid recording. So we're like halfway through this podcast episode. So it's like, well, what do we do? So he's on the phone. I'm just going to hold my phone up to my microphone and we're just going to continue. say hi, Neal.
Yeah. Hey, so yeah, this is what our spring is like so far.
Oh, that's crazy. That's crazy. Okay. So anyways, I got one gal up and running. It went great. She was super easy because she was already trained. And then I hired on another guy who I have been like speed training with him, which was a recommendation from Kevin, the guy we had on before on the podcast. And yeah, he was like, yeah, I take my guys out and I train with them for like 2-3 weeks straight every day. I'm like, oh, okay, that's intense, but let's do it. So I did that with Michael before I had surgery. So he came out to probably 8 shoots with me, shot alongside me. I like reviewed his work, critiqued it right on the spot. So he came to my house today and shot my house. And then came over and we popped the card in my computer and we reviewed them together and he killed it. He did a great job. So I feel like he's like 95% there. But he's like, Rachel, I could just FaceTime you at a job and show you all my pictures. And I was like, oh, good point. Okay. We can do that. That'll work. So, because I'm controlling, I'm like, I don't know. I want you to be 110% ready before I send you out, but he's so close. He's good. So anyway.
That's cool. How long did you say that's taken, Rachel?
I've been working with him this is week 4. But it was 2 weeks together, 2.5 weeks, I think, together, where he was coming out 3 or 4 days a week with me. And then
how much experience does he have? Did he have any real estate experience?
0, none. So it was like ground up training, which there's a lot to teach because every house is different, and there's so many little things like that you don't even think about until you get to the house and you're like, oh, this one has a hot tub. So we open the hot tub and we turn the jets on and we shoot over the hot tub, like little things like that. But yeah, he's picking it up really quickly. He pays a lot of attention to detail. When I ask him a question, like, do you understand what I'm teaching you? He reiterates back to me like, yes, I understand you do this because of this and da, da, da. Like he really does explain it back so I know that he understands, which is nice. And it shows in his work. Like he's a quick learner. He is a landscape photographer and a portrait photographer. So he has a background in photography. And he's like, I just want to take pictures. He's like, I'm just happiest when I have a camera in my hand. And I was like, I love it. Let's do it. So he's on the schedule officially, both of my new shooters, and I am off the schedule. So it's exciting. Good stuff. Good stuff. So this surgery was a really good push for me to just make it happen, like get it done.
Yeah. By the way, I feel like I should just say, I feel like I'm literally sitting in pitch black right now. But if you're watching on YouTube and there's just like black empty space where I should be, that's actually accurate. We could be recording and that's all you'd see right now.
I'm pretty sure it's just my face holding up the phone to the microphone. So here's Neal. Say hi. I was gonna say we could FaceTime, but I don't think that will work. You have no light.
Yeah, there's no light. I'm in pitch blackness down here. So yeah.
That's okay.
No, well that's cool. So you've got 2 shooters, they're ready to go.
Yep.
So What about this though? Let's say like right now the scenario you're in, you can sit in bed and you can do work, you can do kind of admin stuff and all of that. But let's say that wasn't the scenario. What would you have done to kind of streamline that? I mean, you also have an admin, I guess. I guess you'd be in a pickle where if you didn't have an admin, you'd need to find a solution for that maybe ASAP. But in your case, did you also ramp up your admin to like do more work because you weren't sure if you're going to be able to get work done and stuff, or what did you do for that?
Yeah. So my new assistant, I say new, she's been with me since last April. I had no idea. She came with me to a shoot in like October, a lifestyle shoot to assist. And the broker was like, "Oh, how long have you guys been working together?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't know, a few months." Casey goes, "I've been working with you since April." I was like, "Seriously?" I'm like, "Well, little do I know." Like, oh my gosh. Anyways, but the whole plan since I think we talked right after that. So since October, the plan has been to get her full time. But I told her, like, I just don't have full time work for you until spring. So our plan all along is for her to go full time in April, which means, and I told her, I want you to take over the phones. I want you to take over client communications, all the emails. You're in charge of quality check for all the jobs that go out. You're kind of overseeing our virtual assistant. She helps me create the content for social media. We do like a meeting together to initially plan it out, and then she finishes all the copyright and works on the concepts for what we're posting. She writes our newsletter, and then I double check it, make sure it looks good. She schedules and sends that out. So there's like more and more jobs. Oh, she edits our podcast. Like she's doing quite a bit. She also has a house cleaning business, so she cleans my house for me once a month, which is great. She came up and took me to my physical therapy appointment this week. Like she's just fantastic. Yeah, she's super sweet. We get along really well, and she's just a good assistant to have. Like she just wants to work from home, and it's a really good fit. So she's not quite to full time yet. We're probably going to wait till May before we switch her over to that kind of full time employee model. But yeah, so I was already ramping up for it. It just like the timing was perfect, honestly. So having her in place, like obviously the day I had surgery, I didn't actually go in for surgery. I didn't have to be to the surgery center until 10:30. I took a client call at 11:30 while I was waiting, like with an IV in my arm, like waiting for the surgeon. I'm like talking to my client. I'm like, doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Just crazy, you know? And then finally they came in, they're like, "Do you want some kind of like drugs to calm you down?" And I was like, "Yes, please. Yes, yes." I need to like turn it off. Just knock me out, please. Because I had to wait for like 2 hours for the surgeon to come in, or maybe an hour and a half, which is like waiting to have surgery. It was like the longest month of my life waiting. Like it was awful. I was just, let's just get this over with. Please, can we just do it so I can lay in bed for a month and just catch up on everything? And like, I've really been looking forward to this, to be honest. But anyways, so yeah, it's been nice. Like the day of surgery, though, it was like I told my team, like, I am unavailable. I called all my shooters and let them know, like, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm going to be probably completely out of it and not able to take calls or anything. If clients call you, please handle it. Send it off to Casey. Like, tell them to call our business line, not my personal line. I set up like autoresponder on my personal email. So that was taken care of, but it's like a real legit business. I'm like, I'm doing it. Like I actually finally feel like I'm actually doing it. Like the business is really can run on its own without me. It's pretty freaking amazing. Like
I guess that, yeah, that's the ultimate challenge, right? Can you go and stay home for 3 weeks and still have a business? Then
Yeah.
yep, you're doing it right.
Exactly. Yeah. And you know, like the first week and a half were kind of slow because of Easter and you know, spring break and whatnot, but next week is cranking up. I'm like excited because I really want to see my 2 new shooters just on the schedule more. Like my clients are really apprehensive to try new shooters.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to try the new one. They're like, "Oh, I don't know. I don't know this person. Like, I've never seen their work." And like, I can tell them all day long, they're trained by me. We all shoot the same, but at the end of the day, we all shoot a little different. We really do. You know, we don't all shoot the same. We try, but yeah, we're all, I mean, it's a creative industry. You can't all be exactly the same. It's not possible.
Yeah, and every house is different, and you're gonna walk in that, and you're gonna just make your call on what are the angles and stuff, right? And that's gonna be slightly different from one person to the next, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, well, I was going to say that's kind of the silver lining, right? In wanting to grow the team, that is always the resistance. But when there's a scenario like that where they have no choice, they're going to try the shooters and hopefully it'll go well. And then they won't be afraid to use the shooters. So that'll be good. Yeah. Cool.
And right now, 2 of my shooters can do every service, and 2 of my shooters can only do floor plans, photo, and drone and Matterport. So I'm going to be going in and kind of reassigning some jobs to have some more openings for more video work so that people can hire us for the full works package and the social marketing package. You know what I mean? So it's going to be a little, and I'll have to reach out to those clients and say, hey, I'm going to switch you over to our new shooter or our new photographer, blah, blah, blah. She's great or he's great. Yeah. And a little finessing there, and hopefully they're cool. If not, we'll keep it with the old ones. But yeah, it's a good way, that will be a good way, I think, for me to get the new shooters more work and get them kind of get their feet wet a little and introduce them to my clients.
I got a question for you, Rach. Are you training your new shooters who haven't done video before? Are you training them to do it on DSLR? Are you training them to do it on phones? Are you leaving the choice up to them, what they'd rather work on? How's that working?
Well, I'm telling them it's up to them. So my 2 shooters use their cameras with the gimbal, and I use my phone on an Osmo. And it's up to the shooter. I tell them it's totally up to you. Here's the standard. Here's the shots I need. Like, you get the same, really similar from either. Like, I'm good with either. But both my new shooters are like, we're going to do the phone setup because it's cheaper, and it's easy. I tell them, like, it's easy. Like, it's really easy to do, and I can teach you how to do it, not a problem.
Yep.
So yeah, they're both going to use their phones, and they both have newer phones. So it's not a big deal. They're like one of them has to get a new phone, but that's happening soon. So
so long as they've got a fairly last 2 versions of phones, basically they're probably good to go.
Yeah, exactly. Because I use the 14 Pro, and that's plenty. That's all you need. So
yeah, the 14. Yeah, I think the 14's right when it really got looking really good. So yeah, totally.
I do still feel a little weird when I go to a $6 million listing and they hire me to do video and I pull out my cell phone. That happened the other day, and I was like, they hired someone else to do the photos and they hired me to do the video, and I went in and pulled out my phone. I had literally had my Osmo in my back pocket when I walked up, and I was like, hi, here we go. And they didn't say anything. I mean, they loved the video. It's not about the equipment, you guys. It is what you do with it. You can make magic on a phone. You just have to know how to use it. So yeah.
And sometimes it's flipping easier now. It's crazy.
It's just so much lighter. It was so heavy and uncomfortable for me to carry around that big Ronin. I was like, ugh. Yeah.
And it's easier to get some stuff too with the phone because you don't have the same depth to it. So getting behind something that's close to the wall is much easier. It's hard to do on a DSLR with a gimbal. You can't get right behind the plant that's right next to the wall, but with the cell phone you can.
That's very true.
And some of that stuff's just easier. I'm like, yeah, but I still feel the same way too with the cell phone. I'm a little maybe I'll do it on this one. It's not as expensive. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't even know how to balance my camera anymore on the old Ronin thing. I haven't used it in so long. It's been over a year. Yeah. I'm losing it. I'm just going to hire more shooters, and then I won't have to do video anymore. No, just kidding. I love doing video. I love it.
Yeah, the video is fun, but it's totally. But that's where it's totally going there. So it's all good. We'll all get used to it. But it's funny when there's now the only thing separating us between them is a gimbal.
Right. Right. I know. Yeah. Seriously.
So
anyways, yeah.
Good I know it's more than that, but that's what it feels like when you walk in the door with the cell phone setup. You know what I mean?
I know. Yeah. No, it's they're using their phone. What is that? Yeah. I don't know if they even care. I don't know. It just seems
more and more. I don't think they will, because the more people see the quality that comes out of the phones, that I don't think it's an old standard that we're all holding to phones, but now the footage that comes out of them is insane. So
that's true. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Good point.
Yep.
Good point.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, so what else would we think is important to have people consider about, taking a vacation or sick leave or something like that and maintaining the business?
Yeah, I think it's really important for your sanity to be able to take a vacation from your business. Like, I think a lot of us plan the vacation during slow season, so it doesn't really affect, our business, but you can't always plan your vacation in December around Christmas time. So I would start, if you don't have referral partners or friends in the industry that can help with your business, like start making those relationships. Consider hiring on one shooter, even if they shoot for you like once a month, but just need some extra work. You can also reach out to other photographers in your area and say, hey, I don't really need a shooter yet, but I'm looking for someone that might want to pick up a job or two per month. Like, do you have a shooter that needs a couple more shoots a month? And see if they'll loan them out to you or let you, take them on as a second shooter for you too. Because some teams just don't have enough work. Like, I have a guy who wants full-time work and I don't have full-time work yet. I'm like, I'm going to, because we're doing all these headshot pop-up events and I'm getting clients from it and it's working, but it's coming. It's just going to take a little time. I would just highly recommend that you start the process now. So that you have that just in your back pocket if you need it.
Yeah. So like, for example, for me, this summer, I'm actually potentially going to be helping out with, for like 5 days for a reunion thing that's run by the church that used to be a part where I used to go for summer camp. So I'm going to be doing that. And I have that same concern in my head, like, okay, it's not during slow season. So what am I going to do? I'm going to notify people ahead of time, right? So they get a heads up. But they're going to have to do listings. So my second shooter right now is only working weekends now. Because it got so slow, you needed a full-time gig. So he's only doing weekends. So, he can do that. That's good. But I still going to need somebody who can do some shoots during the week. So that's probably something that I need to get geared up on and find another shooter just for the busy season, just for, like you said, start them out just saying, hey, maybe they'll do one or two. But then, just so you know, this week I might need to fill in a little bit more. But yeah.
And there's a lot of photographers out there who really, they have a real passion for photography and they just want to make money doing it. They don't need a ton. They have a job, but they have a flexible day job where they can pick up shoots here and there. You just have to find them. They're out there.
Yeah. And I'm not sure. I might also reach out to, there's a couple guys I've bumped into here and there, doing photography, but I've never, we've not worked together. So, I might reach out to one of them and see what their thoughts are and fill them in for a vacation. If I could return the favor for them when they go on vacation and see if we can build a rapport. I've tried it in the past. I've tried talking to people. There's, I think 2 people I tried talking to in the past about, 2, about, hey, maybe we could work together in some capacity. And I could tell that their reaction was like defensive, like they were worried about their business. So that's the tricky part, is that,
and I've had people, I've had teams reach out to me. Like one of our big competitors reached out and said, hey, do you have any shooters? I need more work. And I'm like, no, get away from my shooters. Like, no, stay away. They're mine. Yeah. But it's like, I get it. Cause you like take so much time and effort to train them. And the last thing you want is for them to be busy on a Tuesday or a Monday when you need them. You know what I mean? And you could have filled them up and now you're scrambling to find another shooter. It's like, it's hard to share.
The benefit of that versus hiring another shooter is that, come past the busy season, that person I hire is going to have to be okay with, not having many shoots after busy season, because we're not as busy year round as say you are. So they have to be somebody totally cool with seasonality. And it feels a little weird just to hire somebody just because there's a couple weeks in the summer you can't work. You're gonna get busy for 2 weeks, but then so in that scenario, it might be nice just to have a couple people who could fill in a few shoots during those times where you can't work, or when you're going to be out because you're sick or something, and then they're not somebody you have to like continue working with you if you don't have that need the rest of the time. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. And there's a lot, it costs a lot to train someone. It's not free to train them. I mean, it takes your time, their time. I'm now paying for training when I'm training people, which is like so hard for me to pay people, but I'm like, no, they deserve to be paid. They're taking their time to be there. Like, So I used to have the mindset, like the guys that I brought on in the beginning, they had their own businesses and I was training them how to shoot. They were brand new. I really polished them up. And I'm like, this training is not paid, but you are getting trained by one of the best photographers in the Seattle area. And you are now going to be a really good photographer. This is going to help your business. So training is not paid. And they were totally fine with it. They were like, oh, that's fine. That makes sense. But I didn't ask them to come out with me every day for 3 weeks, and shoot. It was like one here. Are you there?
Me?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, I thought you disappeared again. I'm having post-traumatic stress over here.
No, just
anyway.
sitting in the blackness still.
Dark. So anyway, so it was like, yeah, I just now since I'm asking them to come out with me multiple days a week and they're not trying to start their own business, it makes sense to pay them for their time. So anyways, so that's how I'm handling the whole pay thing. But
Gotcha.
yep, I
Wait,
think
hold
it
on.
would be worth
I
it
have
for
to
you.
interrupt this podcast for 1 minute. We apologize. This is a message from PSNH, which is the Power Systems of New Hampshire. I am now going to try the breakers. Hold on.
Oh, you might have power. You might get Neal's beautiful face back. Yay.
And that's a negative.
No. Did your breaker trip or something when your power goes out? That's weird.
No, it just, Heidi said, my wife texted me while we're talking. She said, other people seem to have lights on. Can you just check ours? So I just figured I'd flip it and see. But yep, nothing.
Dude, it's like April. You have snow? That's crazy.
Oh yeah, this is ridiculous. Yeah, this is a little, I mean, not that it's never happens, but it's a little annoying.
Yeah, kind of annoying.
Doesn't exactly feel like spring when you've got the shovel out and getting. I was even raking snow off the roof today, so
Wow. That's wild. Oh, good for you.
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
Yeah,
but cool.
Exactly.
I think that's all good stuff to think about, and even if nothing else, to take a vacation and get an actual break. Maybe even in the summer.
Mm-hmm. Or like if you have a wedding to go to, or you need to take a long weekend, and yeah, it's like you need to have a life and you need to have that flexibility. So it's worth hiring an admin. It's worth hiring second shooter or partnering with someone for sure. Just getting it started so that you can have some freedom, because this job will like eat you up and take all your time, which I've said before, but yes.
Very true. Well, I'm sure everyone listening is thinking the same thing, which is I hope that everything is going smoothly for you in your recovery from your surgery and you're back at it ASAP.
Thank you. Good news is I've had like very little pain. It's been a really easy recovery, which is great because as I'm sitting in the little bed with an IV in my arm, like getting ready to go into surgery. And the nurse tells my husband, oh yeah, this surgery that she's having is a lot more painful than an actual hip replacement. And I'm like,
what?
Why would she tell him that right now? Why would she tell us that? Like, thank you, nurse. Not nice. Just keep it to yourself. Which it hasn't been painful. So I'm like, a hip replacement must be like a walk in the park. It's like, this is not hurt. I mean, I was on pain pills for a week, so maybe it hurt and I just didn't feel it. But, I really probably didn't even need the pain pills. But it was a good vacation. Yeah.
Wow. Well, maybe they just did a good job. Maybe you got a good doc.
Maybe. I don't know. They only had like, if you're sensitive to surgery and grossness, cover your ears. They had to anchor the cartilage down to the bone. So they had to drill into the bone. And they usually do like 3 holes in the bone to anchor it. And they only did 2. So that's good. So maybe it's just like less than what they normally do. I don't know. But anyways, yeah, PT is going really well. Like my range of motion today, she was like, that doesn't hurt. And I'm like, no. She's like pushing my leg up towards my chest. And she's like, usually people can only go to like here before they're saying it's pinching. I'm like, it's not pinching at all. And she's like, that's great. So I'm doing good, recovering well.
Good.
I'm in good spirits. I'm a little bored, but Neal and I have some really fun things we're working on, which we'll tell you about soon. Right, Neal?
Yes. And some of the things, yes. And some of these, yes. Good things coming.
Good things coming. We're excited. So anyways, I have plenty to keep my little mind occupied as I recover. So I'll be out and shooting here in no time and overwhelmed and needing to hire more shooters, I have a feeling. So yeah, freedom again.
Cool.
Anyways, well, thanks guys for listening. And
yeah, I'm gonna go find some flashlights and a Ouija board or something to occupy us in the dark here.
Great.
All right.
Awesome.
We'll see you all in the next one, guys.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.